Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Abraham. We're going to request Apollo Kashango to say something. Apollo.
Thank you, Dixon. And thank you for keeping this going. I want to welcome all the members who I see online, quite a number. And thank you for always logging in. And our facilitators, I can see a number online who have facilitated us in the past. We thank you so much for making this time and sharing your knowledge with the Lions. Particularly, I'm interested in this farming topic because I think most of us are practicing farmers of some sort, at various levels. So I think Dr. Kamuganga will give us what we need to do to be successful farmers. Our president normally says that most farmers are only farming for the Chida Chonka, but I think us in Kampala are not even farming for Chida Chonka. We are just farming for fun, because at the end of the day, we buy food from our markets here, and our farming up country is really not very beneficial to us in quite a number of ways. So we can't wait to have Dr. Kamuganga share with us his thoughts as somebody who has been in this business at a national level. Leadership. Dixon, allow me to do a small pitch for our project, the NSOBA project, which we agreed on. Members who may not know, I'm sure we have shared the gate that we envisage to have. I can see architect Milton online and his team. They have done us a good job and designed this gate. In our last meeting before the lockdown, we had agreed to break ground before this year ends and seriously fundraise for this gate. I'm sure a number of you who have had a look at it, it's a state of the art, pretty much the next generation kind of structure. And I want to put it to members that it will cost us some substantial amount of money, but I think it's worth it for the prestige of our school. So I don't know, Dixon, when you schedule this, because I think we had agreed that this is a good forum where we can share this and share ideas of how to get this money and pretty much pull off this project very soon. I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but it is something that I think we should each orbit tells another, and we see how much we can pull off and have this project up and running. Thank you, Dixon, and I wish all members a very good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Apollo. Apollo is the vice chair of NSOBA. We were planning, because you tackled touched the issue of the gates, we were planning to have one of the next sessions dedicated to NSOBA so that we can discuss NSOBA issues and the projects which we had earlier lined up for execution. Most likely it will be either next weekend or in the next 2 weeks. That's when we're going to host. We were trying to, I think chairman was slightly out of touch. I need to be sure that Dr. Dick Kamuganga has joined us. We decided to allow everyone to join. I see many people logged in as user one, user something. Dr. Dick, are you with us? Please confirm. No, seems not to be with us. Oof, okay, no worries. We have enough farmers, and we know the opportunity. They know the opportunities under the in that field of farming. They know the challenges. Most of the ones who are practical, not like me who does it on phone, but the real practical farmers. We have them here. We know them. I'm not going to say this and that. So as we try to get Dr. Dick, I talked to Dr. Dick earlier today in the morning. I talked to him yesterday. I'm sure he has not forgotten about this meeting with us. I checked on his WhatsApp status. The flyer is up there. So definitely he has not forgotten. He knows he can't forget his hobbies. He can't forget his school. But where is this man who has been into farming for a very short time? Okay, is this gentleman here who is very passionate about farming, because I need to make another phone call to Dr. Dick. Hannington, are you there? Hannington Musinguzi. I know your passion with farming.
What do you want from me? I'm sick.
What do I want from you? I need your 5 minutes as I make another phone call to Dr. Professor Dick Nwamanya. I'm giving you 5 minutes to give us just a few challenges and few opportunities and the challenges you have seen in your farming venture. Thank you.
On who I'm seeing now, I'm a chair warmer. They call them seat warmers.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dixon, I think mine will just be a free ride, really. I'm not going to go into formalities. Good evening, everyone who's listening in.
Good evening.
Yeah. So, like Dixon said, I'm not. I used to dislike farming because I always want to go where the money is, and for a long time I thought that the kind of farming we are practicing in Uganda and Africa at large is a little bit misdirected. But a couple of years, 1 year before the lockdown, so we can say 3 years ago, I realized that anybody who is making money and not preparing for the for the future in as far as food is concerned is just wasting time. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have food, if you give up on food security, then the world could end up in a really bad place. Yeah, so that's how I joined farming. And my approach has been very simple. I have spent a lot of time learning from those who have been in there, because when you do visit farms of people who have succeeded, or even those who have tried and failed and tried other things, there's a lot that you pick as a junior farmer. That's what I love to call myself. Yeah, so I've visited a couple of farms, and that has helped me take shortcuts. The other day, I tried chicken farming. I did broilers, which came out so well. I sold out. I had about 400 broilers in Imbara and managed to sell them. Initially, the market was really bad. I tried to put them on the market and I couldn't get even one single buyer. But once people got to know that I had chicken, within about a month, they were all gone, 400 birds gone. Yeah, and I'm going back into broilers, but I had to put it on a hold. The reason I brought up that example, when I visited a few friends who are doing chicken, I realized that I had taken a completely wrong route and it was going to cost me. Yeah, so I had to slow down. I realized that once you go into chicken, you need to first understand what kind of chicken are you going to rear, what do you want them for, where are you going to sell them, are you going into eggs or you're going into meat? So basically you find a niche and go for it. And that applies to all the different types of farming that are out there. Before you go into farming, you need to first zero in and know what kind of farming do you want to go into, and then what is going to be the end. Yeah, so a friend of mine yesterday who is a farmer is reminding me that usually for him, he starts from the end and then looks at the means that take him to the end. Yeah, so before you go into farming, you need to understand what kind of farming are you going into? What is the end goal? Most people sit here in Kampala and they see Mark say, okay, coffee is profitable, and they send their money to the village. Before you know, they put up a couple of trees, they don't even water them, and then before you know, they dry up and they lose it. Then they start hating farming. Or another person says, me, I'm going to buy cows, fatten them, and within a short time, I will have made money. They send their money to the village. They don't even follow it up. Or at times they follow up 1 week, then they come back here. Before you know, the cows are dying. There are diseases that are associated with that. Yeah, so farming is a bit tricky. You need to sit down and think, what kind of farming can you do as a person who's busy in Kampala running another job? Personally, I hate crop husbandry because I tried it out. I did vegetables on about 3 acres. To be honest with you, I put in about 16 million, and the time for selling, I realized I wouldn't make even 6 million from the vegetables that I had planted. Yeah, so for me, crop husbandry, I realized I'm not going there. So I decided to zero in on a couple of animals and birds. I also do fishing. I've put up ponds. I have the fish fully grown. And then I realized that if I'm to sell it to the Congolese who usually buy fish in Nimbahara area, the pricing is really, really bad. They will give you 7,000 for 1 kg of fish. And clearly, when you look at the feeds that you've put in, you realize that you're not making the money. So I've changed the move. I've kept my fish. Fish won't die as long as the ponds are oxygenated and fertilized, so that you have some worms going in there for the fish to eat. That's kind of supplements on the feeding. Yeah, so I'm keeping my fish as I plan on value addition. By value addition, I mean cutting out the middleman and bringing the fish to the final consumer. Yeah, so sooner you'll see me in Nimbahara vending my fish to your doorsteps for the guys who are living in Nimbahara and even the neighboring villages, districts. Yeah, so I realized that at times you need to cut out the middleman. If you can, that is. If you have the money to cut out the middleman, do it, because the middleman comes in, gives you terrible prices. And those terrible prices are the reasons why most people have given up on farming. Yeah, so if you realize you can actually take your time, go in there, employ 1, 2, 3 people to help you with bridging the gap between you at the farm and the final consumer, then you go for it. Yeah, the other farming I'm doing is I'm breeding. I'm doing breeding, that is Frisians, cows. Yeah, so I'm doing zero grazing, a mustard silage, and all that feedlot feeding and all. The water setup and all that. If you want to put up a structure, you want to put up a shed, at least I've invested a lot of time by visiting people who have done it successfully in and around Kampala. And I've put up a simple structure that is still under construction. I can say 60%. And then I realized that once you go into cows, it's better that you also figure out from the beginning what you want to do with the cows. Are you going in for milk? Are you going in for breeding? Are you planning to do beef? So whatever you choose, then you go for the right the right breeds. Yeah. So for me, I decided to do milk, but also the intention is to breed. I do a lot of artificial insemination, what most of you know as AI. And AI purely helps you to determine the outcome of the breed. You keep on improving your herd. And once you have good breeds, you can sell them for even 10 million. I remember I visited someone's farm and he was so proud of what he had. He said, if you don't have 10 million, I usually sell at 12, but because of you and how you convinced me, I can sell to you at 12, a heifer. A heifer is a cow that has not yet delivered. Yeah, so he was selling his heifers at 12 million, but simply because he had done a couple of breeding over a period of 5 years, and he felt like he had the best breeds in this country. And people will always come. You don't sell every day, but the day you choose to sell, you make a lot of money out of it. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that as a farmer or as a person, because you can't be that farmer who's going to have, I was in Zimbabwe the other day. There's a goat farmer called Sembeguya, and he boasts of 9 square miles. Very few of us here can afford 9 square miles. Even if you had the money, you might fail to get where to buy them. But you find this farmer who has been there for over 25, 27 years. He's been doing this, and he has managed to put land together, do a lot of breeding. He has animals here and there. You might not be that kind of farmer, but you can be a smart farmer if you take a smart approach. Yeah, so you need to do a lot of visitations on people's farms, get to understand how they are doing it, what they are doing, where they have gone wrong, where they could advise you. And also the advice you pick for most of these guys, you don't just take it as is. You need to filter it. Sit down with friends who have tried this and that. And then you choose which idea you want to put your money into, identify suitable land, then go for it. But all I can say is that farming is the way to go. COVID showed us. I'll tell you a simple story. During the first lockdown, I was locked at home. I tried to call a few people that I know for whatever, a permit, movement permit. And I failed to get one in the first 1 week. But then I saw people that had always despised or laughed at as simple farmers with their chicken here and there carrying eggs and that. They were considered the essential workers. And I've always thought that I belong to that part of the society, which is essential really for the existence of Ugandans and the world at large. Then all of a sudden I realized that a farmer was essential, and me who was in Kampala pressing buttons of the laptop had been rendered useless by COVID. The second week, that is when I went to Mbar and added more money into whatever I was doing there. Yeah, so you realize that without food, even if you had all the money in the world, if you don't have food, you might even fail to get where to buy it from. But today I can proudly say that I can feed my family, friends, and relatives at least for the next 5 or 10 years without me failing them or failing to put a meal on their table with the little that I've put together. Usually, and lastly, I think this one, that will be my last. People always say, you're going into farming, but where will you get the market from? And I've always told them that you go into marketing. When you have the product, then you can start worrying about the market. But you cannot sit here before you even buy a piece of land and start worrying about the market. I tell people that I'm a fish farmer proudly. And their worry is, where will I get the market for fish? And I tell them, look here, at least I'm better than you who doesn't even own land. You don't have a pond. You don't have fish. I'm at the level where I have fish, and the only worry that I can have is the worry for the market. And that one I can guarantee I will figure out. I will sell the fish, I will make money out of it. Someone has cows and cows are giving him milk. His worry can be how he can actually add value to the milk, or how he'll take his milk to the market and make some money out of it. But you hasn't started, you don't even have a cow. You're busy saying, I can't go into cows because I don't know where I'm going to sell the milk. Don't worry about what you don't have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Worry about what you can start with. So buy land, strategically look at things that you can do out there. Your job, if you're in a formal employment, it can end overnight. And if that happened to you, what would happen? Some of us have been there. We've lost our jobs in the past before we started doing private business. But even up to now, we are hungry because we think what we have can go away anytime. But if you have a farm, no matter how simple it is, you have your animals, you have your goats, you have your cows, you have your fish, you have your pigs. Trust me, you can never go wrong. Even if you lost that job that you think is so precious or prestigious, the next day you would just go to the farm and start all over, and then God will show you the way. Yeah, so I think is our guest, our host already here?
I think before the host comes on, may I have a question? I don't know if, as Mr. Dixon comes to address, may I have a question? You mentioned something in your as you were speaking. You said you invested about 16 million in crop. I wanted to know if you can share your experience for the sake of a friend of mine who wants to start big for agriculture in crop. I don't know what could have gone wrong that can be mitigated. Could it be mitigated? Is there a way it could be solved, or it was just not your thing? Yeah.
I realized that with farming, you find yourself with a product, and then if it is a bad season, you definitely not have the market. So me, I had carrots, I had tomatoes, I had all these greens that you can never talk of, because I had a farmer, a consultant from Naro in Imbara. who came to the farm and said, oh, with all this water that you have, we can put cucumber here, we can put this here, we can put that there. I paid him heavily, and he had to keep on watching over my gardens for a couple of months. And within a short period, I had almost everything you can call greens. But where was I going to sell them in Mbara? So I found myself stranded with so much in the garden. And these things, like cabbages, for example, if you keep the cabbages in the garden, but when you go back, you'll start getting this false, foul smell. And then someone will tell you, those ones are gone now. You can't even harvest them. You won't take them anywhere because they are rotting from the garden. And then these other greens, the booger and all that, the same thing happens to them. You leave them longer in the garden, they'll start drying up. So you realize that a time comes when you must harvest those things and take them to the market. But you're taking them to a market that you don't even understand, that is difficult to understand. And there are so many people that have tried that. There are so many villagers out there who don't put in as much as you put in, because for them, they do it themselves. They have their land, they just play around and get some little money, buy the seeds, and go and put up a garden of either fruits or vegetables, and then they are able to harvest on their own. They use labor at home, their children or their relatives, and you find that the input cost is almost zero. They have only bought seeds. So when you go to sell with those, and you have hired a consultant, you have put in a lot of money, you have sprayed, you have done all this and that, then you realize that the cost of production on your side is a bit too high, as compared to somebody who is doing it small scale without almost any costs that they're incurring. So I realized that, yes, I could sell, but I was going to make huge losses. Yeah, so in fact, most of my greens were eaten by my chicken. I chopped a wire and said, you know what, start feeding my chicken on all this. Yeah, so, and then somebody else told me a story, and his conclusion or his advice was that in most cases, people who make money from these greens go in so big. They don't do it in small bits, 6 acres, 3 acres, and you think that you're doing a big thing. They go in so big, and then the market is really huge. They go to Nakasero, so they're in a position to get a truck, go to Mbarara or wherever they are doing their farming from, and bring whatever they have grown to Kampala. And again, that takes you back to what I advised on cutting out the middleman, because usually it's the middleman that is going to frustrate you. Yeah, so I don't discourage people from doing vegetables or from doing crops, but for me, I realized that it's a tricky one. One time I grew maize and I almost got nothing because all of a sudden I was off season, and then all the maize went bad. I could not even use it for making silage for my cattle. I had to go and buy another garden somewhere to help me make silage. So crops are a bit tricky as opposed to animals. Animals, as long as you're following what the good vets are telling you, the recommended practices in animal husbandry, you'll never go wrong. If they tell you that you need to spray your cows, you must spray them. Avoid whatever fake caricides, you can avoid all that. If you see your cows having this and that, then you can do this. If the goats are there, you need to get a good vet and do all the treatment that has to be carried out on the goats. So those are simple to oversee, especially when you're not there. Because remember, I'm talking to most people who don't have time to be at the farms all the time. You find that someone goes to the farm once in a month, or others are just on the phone, and the only time they get to go to the farm is maybe after 2 months, when they get maybe 3 days or 5 days off their busy employment schedules. Yeah, so you need something that you can easily monitor. Yeah, you can monitor what it's eating, you can monitor the treatment that it's getting. If it's giving you milk, you can monitor the milk and the cells. Yeah, if you have fish, you know that in this pond, I'm supposed to have maybe 5,000 or 6,000 fish. And the feeds that are being consumed can also be, measured and monitored very well without you necessarily being on the ground. As opposed to crops. Crops, my friend, that one you can try, but me, I'm not there. I'm for animals. I think that answers you, Bruce.
Thank you, Hans. I want to thank you for that. Only that you mentioned maize. When you mentioned that crop, get goose pimples. Because one day I went for it. Up to now, I can't even buy maize in a market because I fear it. Fear it may get me problems at home. We have DK. DK, are you Dick Kamuganga, our presenter today? DK, who has just joined about 5 minutes ago. It's very unfortunate that today's presenter cannot be traced.
I'm sorry, I'm not DK, but I am the one who has just joined. So I'm not Dixon.
You're not Dixon.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But you will come to know me probably in the future.
Why don't you tell us who you are?
I'm called Dr. Kamukama David.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Gentlemen, this is serious now. It's getting serious. 6:40. Professor Dr. Dick Kamuganga. Wamanya, I don't know. I hope he's safe anyway. We need to pray for him. I hope he's safe wherever he is. Because
Dixon, may I advise?
Please advise.
We have a couple of farmers here. They might be
please.
amateur in nature, but they have a lot of stories that they can share with us here.
Yes,
and
please.
then I'm certain we have some people who have either overcome those challenges. They can always share their story also on how they did that. We can make this constructive, really, an engagement.
Thank you very much. That's what we're going to do. I will request maybe five minutes for the ones who especially the ones with hands on. My hands on were bloody because I went into maize. I went and had land in Chegegwa, around 10 acres. I brought workers from Barara, Bachiga, put them there. And I came back to Kampala. I started making my phone calls and videos. And when it came to time for harvesting, it got bloody. I will keep using that word, and that is the experience I have. Now, we have good, up to now, I don't eat posho, I don't eat...
Allow me first ask you a question, Mr. Dixon. When you say it got bloody, I think some of us who want to join agriculture, we need to know what bloody means.
I was on a phone call.
Did they steal the harvest? Did the harvest not come out? What is bloody?
The harvest came out, but I kept on, I was a good telephone farmer, and that's what happened. But Dr. Kamukama, I'm sure has some good experience. I was a good telephone farmer with WhatsApp and video something. People are taking selfies in the garden until I realized they had harvested everything. But doctor, I want to first give an opportunity to Dr. Kamukama. I know he has some good experience in ranching, and one of the leaders in that sector, someone has advised us. Dr. Kamukama, we can give you the floor to take us through, maybe 5 minutes. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm in a noisy place. I cannot talk, but probably you can make arrangement in the future. I can give you a talk. I'm in a restaurant and I'm having my dinner, so I cannot talk.
Hello.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Apollo Kashank, you had something to say? I know you're also into farming and ranching and cattle keeping and fattening. You may tell us the difference between fattening and the milk production. You never know, we'll pick a leaf or two. Thank you, Apollo.
Dixon, no, I just wanted to, I was also suggesting that Dr. Kamukama is a big one. It would have been good to learn from him, but I think I agree with what Huntington is suggesting, that people can share their experiences, because all of us are farmers to some extent, I'm sure. Whatever we want.
Me, I'm not a farmer. I gave up. I buy from Gayaza market here. Milton,
You buy everything except maize.
Milton, and then Apollo. Milton Turiaguma first, then Apollo.
Yes. Okay, thanks so much. What I was trying to, mine is like a question so that anybody who can have the answer can volunteer. There is some fish farming, which they call cage into the lake. Somebody is trying to interest me into it, saying you bring money and we make cage and we shall make money. But I have no single idea. Anybody with an idea, it could help me think about how to start.
Cage farming. I see a lot of it in Buikwe there. Apollo, there was an Apollo's hand before Milton came in. It was Apollo Muyanja. Oh yeah, Apollo Muyanja.
Yes, Dixon, thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, I just wanted to let the previous discussant know that if they want to go into cage fishing, I would advise them to connect with the Hans. Hans has already done it practically. He can advise you, and he's even on this call. I think Hans has done something, but other than that, I have worked with farmers for the last 15 years or so, mainly smallholder farmers. So I just wanted to share that experience with you. I've worked with smallholder farmers across East Africa for the last 15 years. I really hope there will be a time we'll get Dr. Kamukama to talk to us about agriculture. If it's the same Dr. Kamukama I know, these are our seniors in this area. But that aside, a lot of the farming that we do in East Africa is done by people we call smallholder farmers. They have burnt their fingers just like the rest of us, because I came to learn that agriculture is actually a science. It is not something you go in to do guesswork with. And so if you approach it with the seriousness it deserves, then you'll know that because it is a science, I'll use the example that Hans shared. Hans said he tried his hand in a maize and he burnt his fingers. One day, I think he had poor crop yield. And so over time, working with smallholder farmers, we have come to know when they plant, first of all, with the wrong seed. So farming now starts with the inputs. Are you using the right seed? Who is it who supplied you with the seed? Are you using the right fertilizer? There is also the issue of timing. Timing is very important. Where Benedict, you'd know, growing up, our fathers, mothers, uncles, and aunties, they did a lot of, let me not call it guesswork. They knew when to plant. Even when you go to the village, they will tell you, for me, second week of September, we just start planting, whether there is rain or no rain. Now, which is bad, because things have changed. Because of climate change, weather patterns are not what they used to be. And so rains in our country can delay by about 2 weeks. Now, a delay in rain of 2 weeks can kill your crop, whether you like it or not, even if you're using the best seed in the world. So now what we advise our farmers to do is to read satellite weather data. I still work with smallholder farmers, mainly the youth. Right now, so exactly to plant, maybe a few days before the rain comes. And satellite data is normally accurate. So after you learn to plant at the right time, you're planting the right seed in the right quantities that you are supposed to plant. Because again, that's also another issue. When you look at the produce we have in our country, we don't plant enough seed as compared to other countries. What we call the plant population, plant population is low. So you make sure you talk to the right people who can advise you on adequate plant population. After you get the plant population right, you've planted the right seed at the right time, we now wait to see how things are going to turn out. Maybe the other advice I would give is to make sure that to ensure you don't lose everything that you have planted. You can also consider spending money on crop insurance. And there are different types of insurance that you can invest in these days. There's weather index insurance. Me, because of the agriculture I do, I mean, crop agriculture, mainly soybean, I do, I insure against yield. It is more expensive, but once I suffer a loss because of weather, theft, or anything, I get my compensation. And even the government of Uganda is investing significant amount of money in different crop insurance programs. And they've subsidized crop insurance for farmers by over 50%, which makes your crop insurance premium much cheaper. And so I just wanted to share that. I also look forward to an opportunity when I can share more on the subject. And I just wanted to use this opportunity to encourage our OBs who have suffered before, burnt their fingers with agriculture, try again. It requires practice, it requires a deliberate effort. But after you have tried and you have made some money, you'll get hooked. It's like a drug, you will get addicted. So, Bwana Dixon, let me stop at that since you had only given us 15 minutes, 5 minutes. I hope those few words have helped encourage someone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Apollo, for that. Very straight and clear information. Thanks for that. We had a hand before Apollo came in. Was it from Sam? I think it was from Sam. Okay, we can have. Okay. I see Apollo Vlegia, Dr. Professor Eco Concrete joining. I hope he has brought Dr. Dick Kamuganga. He will tell us where he is. Do we have a hand up? I also see Dr. Asimwe joining. Sam, yeah, Sam, you had something to say about farming. But Apollo Vlegia, have you brought Dr. Dick Kamuganga?
Let me look for him. I didn't know he was absent.
Yeah, please look for him.
Now.
I have his 3 numbers and I have trouble reaching him. Sam, you can take it on from there. Sam at Hurire. Sam at Hurire. Yes.
Milton had an inquiry. Eh?
Yes, please.
Maybe as some prepares, I can just make 2 submissions. Eh? He had an inquiry on cage farming, cage fish farming.
Cage fish farming.
I have considered cages and actually doing research.
Yeah.
And I started doing research with Isharaza Musime. We went to Lake Victoria and visited some of the biggest cage fish farmers. When we came back, we are ready to pull money and go put into the lake some cages because it's purely profitable business. But then when I met one of my colleagues, a close friend, who had put about 150 million into cage fish farming, his story discouraged me a little bit and I had to first slow down. So I always encourage people, just because Dixon has come and told you that he has cows and they're giving him good milk yields, that you should join dairy farming, doesn't mean that you should just jump into it. Stories are always juicy and the people telling them have their reasons. So in most cases, these are people selling either the feeds of the fish or the cages themselves. So he has somewhere else he's profiting from. And when he's giving information, he doesn't give you everything. But if you look at these guys who are doing cage farming, cage fish farming, they have a steady market or demand abroad. So they get big numbers and are in a position to just push almost all their fish into the market demands that they have abroad. But also when you look at the likes of Yarero, the likes of, which one is this? Source of the Nile, they are now struggling to put up outlets in Kampala and be able to sell their fish to the final consumer. So they're also struggling to cut out the middleman. It's not as rosy, but it's juicy. But you just need to first go in and understand the nitty-gritties, because cages, someone was telling me that even on the lake, the locals have, you put up your cages, you put in the fish, and as it's growing 1, 2, 3 months down the road, they come up with stories of the lake and the gods of the lake, Mukasa, Manyakozatia, then you need to do this, you need to give money, we need to cut birds. And if you don't do them, somehow storms come and take your fish. So such things give you sleepless nights. And then you also have people who come and cut the cages and take the fish when it has grown. So it's a bit crazy. You don't just throw in your money with cages because you don't have security over them. You just have to create it. So you need to first understand the guys who are there on the lake, how are they putting in the cages, and how have they managed to actually control these other unforeseen scenarios that could actually make them lose the cages and the fish stock that they have in those cages. Yeah, so Milton, I would advise that you first go and study a little bit, put in some money, move to some of these cages where they are, look at Son of the Fish in Ginger, it's a good one. Then the guys of Yarelo also have some cages. You could study a thing or two from them. There are many others on Lake Victoria. First, take your time and understand the challenges they're going through, where they sell their fish, the processing and all that. Then you could start maybe with 1 cage as you study the market and see. 1 cage, take it to production in about 6 months, sell the fish, struggle with the market, start small, and then keep growing big. But I can assure you that the future is in fishing. There's money there. You can never go wrong. And then maybe Dixon, one more thing that I wanted to add on before you allow somebody else to come up. Mark asked me a question on the group some time back, on the NTARE group, on whether I could actually still be into farming if I didn't have this side hustle, actually what I would call my main hustle, side income. Assuming that farming was the only thing that I have to do today, would I still be doing what I'm doing? And the answer was definitely no. So I want to advise my brothers that while you're still somewhere where you can afford to lose 5 million as you try out maize or beans or anything, animals, you better do it now. Because when you burn your hands now, you still have time to, get up and start all over or try something else. And also one thing that I've realized that at times we give out too quickly. You realize that Dixon lost out on maize, but he learned, so you paid school fees and you learned all the mistakes that you committed. But because you had burnt your hands, you said, no way, I'm not doing maize again. Probably if you tried maize again, you know all the loopholes, you know the mistakes that you committed, you'd become successful. So I think the biggest farmers that we see today did not start overnight. They did not wake up today and say, Yugachik, I'm going to become the biggest chicken or egg supplier or chicken supplier in Uganda. They started small, they burnt their hands. They also have their stories. Some of my friends who are into birds, who are into chicken, have lost over 10,000 birds in just a week. He loses 10,000 birds, but he cleans up and fumigates and takes a while and goes back and restocks. And now you can consider them some of the biggest chicken farmers in Uganda today. So I think we need to start now that we still have the energy, as opposed to waiting when we are 50. Then we start saying, what can I do with my pension? What can I do with the little savings that I have? The moment you burn your hands when you're using your savings, my friend, you might consider buying Dixon's ropes. Yeah, so you better start now and learn. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Guy, there was no school fees I paid in maize. Up to now, I don't eat posho. I don't even eat maize, which is cooked or roasted. And if I were KCCA, I would have banned everyone from the road that sells maize. Because whatever happened to me via maize is bloody, and Bruce was asking what was bloody. Do you have any other person?
You're a bad example for farmers.
Telephone farming. Now, can we have another person? We give 5. Kathibati Singoma, we can give you 5 minutes and you tell us something about farming. Don't mention maize because it's a different issue here. Thank you, Cuthbert.
So, Dixon, that's what I wanted to mention. I went into farming and I went into maize. It was bloody. So with farming, maybe I was greedy. That's also one thing, because I really went for something so big. You know, we had some land in Chankwanz, which one of our colleagues had, which wanted to clear. So we cleared it. It was about 45 acres. So we went into the maize, but my friend, we got a bloody nose. So with farming, I think you also need to know how strong you are in order to go for it, because you don't just go in. For us, we went in, that was around 2011. And we planted about 45 acres. We were doing good, but when it came to weeding, that was the biggest problem. Because weeding 45 acres was not very easy. Now, of course, the maize grew, and now it came to harvesting. Harvesting alone, we didn't have enough storage. You know, we had even to go as far as Hoima to get the government stores, those warehouse receipts in order for them to keep our maize, because we didn't have a facility in Chankwanz where to store the maize. Now, the cost alone of harvesting, in fact, the cost for harvesting did not even, after we sold the maize, the cost did not even cover the harvesting. I mean, the amount of money we got out. So with maize, really, it's a very bad thing. It's not something that you can go in thinking you can make money. First of all, it is a low value crop. Low value meaning that it's the amount of time you put in to plant and look after maize is the same amount of time and money you put in to go for beans. So you would rather go for a high value crop like beans or nuts than going for cheap crops like maize. Maize, in fact, if you have to do it, it must be mechanized so that you're able to maybe cut costs by mechanizing the thing. But otherwise, it's not a very good experience with planting low value crops and in big volumes. So that is my experience with the maize. That thing discouraged me into farming ever since that time. I said, I think I'm not yet ready to go for farming. And I stopped farming. That's my experience. Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
That was bloody, really.
You can go ahead, please go ahead.
No, that is the experience I really had with the farming. So I was just trying to share what I had, and it wasn't good at all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cuthbert. I see also the engineer Kenneth and Mr. Geoffrey putting up their hands. Maybe you can unmute and feel free to share your experience.
Thank you, colleagues. This is Engineer Kijuka. It's a pleasure being on the Kiganiiro. I think Dr. Kamganga not being available gives us the opportunity to do the real Kiganiiro now, because sharing experiences. I want to think that the two sectors, agriculture and the real estate, I do. Most people have gone into them blindly. It appears it's what anybody can do. We grew up seeing our parents doing agriculture. We think that's agriculture. Maybe the money they made was able to take us to school. But with growing numbers in population, I don't think that level of agriculture, one, can be sustainable. And especially if you're looking at the commercial aspect. I just want to think most of us, if we are employed elsewhere, and you're going to be a telephone farmer, Zoom, and you're going to be told what happened this morning, it rained yesterday, the cows didn't come home today, there were thugs who attacked yesterday. Would rather do farming as a hobby. We look at the other side of farming that we are able to do and appreciate. I'm into bananas. I've done 20 acres at home. My father and family are there. I still find if every month I put $1.5 million, the sales will bring about 500,000. And I want to say what is not happening. I did it right from start, tested the soils, did the plowing, took the tractors, did the initial ground breaking, I did the manuring, I did everything. I made sure the seed was the right one. The first fruit was excellent. The second harvest and third and fourth were perfect. But as time ran on, then the harvest started coming down. And of course, bananas, they are perennial, that's the beauty. But for those guys who are into seasonal crop, if they are tomatoes and they are 3 months and you harvest and there's no market, suddenly you'll pack bags and go, and you'll never go back like Dixon is saying, it became bloody. I'm only thinking all of us in the country are only just simply doing what the president says we are doing for the cheetah. I don't seem to see solutions. On the platform, we could have people who say, I've done it successfully, and we listen from those stories. If there's nobody, whether in onions, I met a colleague who moved from Kabale with onions together with cabbages. Their shelf life is just a day. And the moment they are packed together in a truck, the heat alone does them the service you want. He called me when he was in Karerwe. He thought he would hit the market himself, what we call the market, whether the market is local, whether it's at the village, whether in Kampala or beyond. So he said, let me go to Kampala, loaded from Kabale all the way up to Kampala. What did him wrong was the middleman. You can't simply come and offload at Karerwe and you think you'll have anybody buying from you. There are cartels, there are linkages there are connections. You must be part of the system. I also got somebody and said, load my matoke all the way up to Nakawa. You go to Nakawa, they've got to give you a price and you must accept it. You don't accept it, you are out of business. And actually, as you know, even when you go and find a truck on the road, you'll not pick a matoke from the truck. They would be selling it at 8,000, but you'd have to buy from the Mudara neighboring there at 15,000. So I think it's quite a high value, rather a very long supply chain that we must be looking at. If you had milk, what do you do with it? If the coolers are not working, or those times in Kabwe, when we used to see these farmers pour the milk on the road, because the trucks could only take as much. So I think if we have somebody on the show who says, I've done it successfully, he gives us the stories. I'd rather recommend, yes, we continue doing farming to please our eyes, to please ourselves, to make sure we have food on the table, to make sure our families are healthy. Probably that's how we became resilient with COVID, because all our food was fresh. And then we wait. Those who tell stories that are attractive, we follow. But as of now, we do it to please ourselves. I just beg to submit.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Kenneth. Geoffrey Musisi, your hand has been up for long. Sorry for that. Geoffrey Musisi, I know you are a practitioner also.
Good evening, gentlemen. I think this is a very nice discussion. But I get worried when Hans tells us that those, if we are 50 and above, then going into farming is a bit a challenge. Yes, it is, but I think it is still a viable venture if one thinks ahead. I have also been a farm on a small scale, especially in bananas. But I have also been venturing and doing research in other things. I will testify that I visited Hans and I visited his farm when he was still starting. I was very hopeful I would be joining him as my contact farmer, but with COVID and some of us who are in education and all that, then it became a bit of a challenge. For example, in fish farming, Mr. Turiaguma was talking about cage farming. If you want to really get on this forum, actually, I would encourage you to talk to Edison Riondo. He started it in Mavira there, and I think he has a lot of things to share. Whether it was successful or not, I don't think that I have all the information, but he tried, so he could give you some information. I just wanted to share from experience of bananas. Everything you must have a strategy. I have seen, and still I think Rion is not attending our Kiganiiro today, but Rion's strategy in gaining actually a lot of money from bananas would be a good way to really share. At one point, he was crying with his bananas. He had a lot. He even has irrigation from the lake and all that. So he has a very good yield all the time throughout the year. But during COVID, he became very innovative. And I think he has continued up to today. He actually cut off all the middlemen, but he has a place in Kampala where he can sell his bananas. So he teamed up with people who have transport and is able to sell directly to the final consumer. I'm one of the consistent customers, and I think he's getting very good money from that. Yes, with bananas, my experience is that they are seasonal. There are those times when it is a bumper harvest and you can even fail to sell the matoke you have. But again, there are also times when the bananas are really, really very productive and you can get a lot of money from bananas. So with everything that we are planning to do, some of the key things that I have got from people who have burnt their fingers, and yes, Dixon and the colleagues have really told us about the experience with maize. I think the lesson I pick from there is that for every venture, we need experience. So that tells us that we need to start a bit small, and then once we have really mastered the art of farming, then you can scale up. I think one of the mistakes, including myself, is to listen to the successes only, and we go with the successes, forgetting that actually there are also challenges. So if anybody was listening to this Kiganiiro, we may think going into maize will be a big problem. But I have also gotten colleagues who have gone into maize and they have made money from there. So I still think we need to continue doing research, like what Hans was telling us. He visited so many people. He got very good experiences from sharing with them. He tried, and some of the things didn't work out. Now he's sharing with us what he thinks is successful, and he's going to build onto that. For example, he has told us for him with crops, bad experience, we will not go there. He's focusing on animals and fish, and I think that is a very good experience for us. So I'm really enjoying the discussion. I think it also cuts across to other businesses. Take an example, some of us who are not necessarily so much in farming, but we have a lot of interest in doing farming. At one point on this forum, we are talking about goat rearing, and people were excited. And when we started digging deeper and deeper, we started questioning whether it is actually as rosy as it is being presented, or it is something that you can do tactfully and gain money from it. So to Hans, I still owe you a visit. I need to come and see the fish. I was told they are big. I saw one video you shared. And I would also like to add to the little knowledge. This is a research I was doing on fish farming, and it is in Nigeria. I think in Nigeria, they have moved a bigger step in value addition. And I think to career ranges to Hands, we can make money. We can increase their share life. And now they're about to open the Mbarara Central Market. If we could get a store there and put like an aquarium and sell the live fish there, I think it would be some of the marketing strategies we can employ. So thank you for the discussion. I think this is very helpful as we also prepare to do from a small scale to a bigger scale.
Thank you. Thank you, Geoffrey. Breja Apple is coming next, but Geoffrey, I want to assure you, goat rearing is very rosy. One goat at 3.5 million. Who doesn't want to do that? Breja Apple, please, Doctor.
Thank you, Dixon and colleagues. It's a pleasure to talk to you on Kiganiiro. First, I want to partial apologize for Dick's absence. I think he was driving at about 4 we talked, and he was heading to Mbarara. Maybe he got stuck somewhere. He'll come in to give his apology when time allows. Of course, I'll speak because I never paid money for school fees. It was always agricultural produce. The cows that used to eat, some of them came from our farm. The firewood was, it's me who used to cut it. So I have some good experience, especially that my father and I think Simi Sharazad's father imported some cows, and they died, all of them, I think in 2-3 weeks, which it was a loan, and they never recovered from that loan. And then in 2008, I traveled to Egypt, visited this farm. It's called Dina Farm. It's 50 kilometers out of Cairo on Alexandria Road. A farm has 40,000 cows. It's a desert. The cows are under shelter. They import grass from, I think, South America. And actually, it's a factory, it's a system that has a shopping mall on the highway, Cairo-Alexandria highway. And in that shopping mall, everything there is produce from the farm. You find baskets, hats, firewood, you find clothes. The farm manure is used to cultivate, to, I think, fertilize grapes, so they make wine. I discovered that milk products exceed 200, so they have over 200 milk products. The only time you see milk is when it is just flowing out of a cow's teat. They have coolers which run like 2 kilometers. So milk goes straight from the cow's udder, straight to the cooler. From there, the next time you see it, it's out of the factory in their shopping mall. They also have branches in Cairo and other cities in Egypt. The company is called Dina Farm. It's owned by the Arab contractors. Now, of course, when I visited, and what I saw, I discovered why my father's cows had died. While we were busy at farm milking cows that would give us crossbreeds, giving us 8 liters of milk, 7, the best would be giving us 12 liters of milk, and that's manageable. The man goes and brings cows that are supposed to give per session of milking 40 liters. Now you sit on a cow, you're using your hands, you're going to remove 40 liters of milk, you're tired, and then you bring a worker. The worker starts milking. He's also tired, and the cow is uncomfortable. And then, of course, myitis came in. So all the cows died because as we got these cows, they did not map the upstream process. To have such cows, you need to have an infrastructure that is going to milk them. And then after, what made it worse, we had, I think our dairy was in Mbarara by then. So milk that was got in the evening could not be sold. So it had to remain at home. We would cook it, big pots. Some of us fed in the milk and got.
Doctor, did we lose?
So the whole system, sorry. Hello, I'm back.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
back.
somebody was calling. Somebody called. Yeah, I'm back. Yes. So the whole value chain. When you start at the point when you start, you need to look at upstream. What is happening there? Whether it's going to be a flooding, whether it's going to be a crisis or not. Because at the end, if you are in the middle of the upstream, and you are the one who carries the risk, like for a cow, the person who has the cow has the biggest risk in the value chain of the milk, blah, blah, blah. The person who owns the cow has the highest risk. The person who buys milk the risk is less. If the milk stops coming, you can shift and look for another source of milk. So you can even import milk and process. So when you look at what happened to my father, and then after seeing what is happening with the Egyptian farm, I learned that yes, if you are not in control of the upstream, if you don't know what is happening, then supply is going to be cut. But at the same time, if you want to make profit, you must control the downstream. If you're not making products, which somebody said that was selling hands, that you can increase the shelf life. If you're not increasing the shelf life through agro-processing, then you're going to suffer losses. If you just stick on one stage of the whole value chain, then we are going to get negative testimonies. And then another issue I have with farming is, as an educated person, of course, when you look at all businesses, each and every business has a cost of entry. And your security in a business is determined by the cost of entry. So if I can start a business with 1 million, I don't want to start that business. I want to focus, put all my attention on a business, which I know after doing it, nobody's going to come and open a shop next to me. It won't be that easy. And therefore, I see farming as something that has a very low cost of entry. When you say, yes, vanilla is profitable, everybody goes into vanilla because its cost of entry is very low. So that is another challenge you're going to find with farming. So I think the advantage we have as educated people is towards agro-processing, not towards going to till the land, to farm, to take tractors there. No, I think that one, we better leave it for people who are still in the village, and we focus on value addition, agro-processing. We can travel to Dubai and look for markets. We need to map out the space where we can perform and excel. And then we leave the parts of cultivating to the locals. Once the market is there, I want to tell you, these people who are not educated are going to actually give us some supplies that we need for our factories, our industries. I think I can come in later.
Thank you, Doctor. So I hope someone, I see Muyanja is back. I hope he's going to tell us whether a liter which sells at less than 500 shillings in Chilhura, whether it is business compared to a liter of water which is at 1,500. Muyanja, what were you saying? Because I know the prices for milk is, they can go as low as 200, 300 per liter, when the price of water, bottled water, remains at, a liter remains at 1,500.
Banati, maize is a very, very tricky, sorry, milk. Milk in Uganda now is a very tricky subject. The prices are quite volatile, but I know that is going to change. I think it is Apollo Regia was talking about markets. The interest in the milk and dairy products from Uganda is very high globally, and the more markets we open, the better for us. But I just wanted to swing the discussion a little bit back to crops. And just to encourage someone, I am in the agriculture sector at different levels. As an agronomist, as an advisor to smallholder farmers, I've seen lives change by giving them the right advice. I remember working in Kamwenja about 7 years ago. Some of the best pineapples we have in the country come from. But when we started working with farmers there, we found their productivity was very low. Most of the pineapple farmers in Uganda, on average, will get about 8,000 fruits per acre.
But then when you look at what's happening in the rest of the world, an acre, maybe in Costa Rica, they are getting about 25,000 fruits. So you see, one of the biggest challenges we need to deal with agriculture in our country is productivity.
Apollo Mianga, you're getting many phone calls.
Productivity is a result, including the type of seed or input you're using. Is it high value or is it adulterated? And then the crop count per acre, that one we always get wrong. And you see, my namesake was saying we leave production for the people in the village. Me, I disagree, because our populations are growing very fast in our country, and we need to be conscious of that. And even as our populations grow faster, we are the ones who are feeding a part of South Sudan, part of Kenya. Yeah, I think, and part of DRC. If we focus our attention on high value crops and we get the science right, it will work out. And so I was giving you a story of the pineapple farmers we worked with in Kamweng. We found them maybe an acre, they would get about 8,000 pineapples, 7,000 to 8,000. And then we worked with them and made sure that they removed the old pineapple suckers they had in their gardens. We taught them how to set up a professionally done pineapple sucker garden. And then their plant population grew from 8,000 to about 15,000, more double that. And but the real, the real A game, if we are to follow all our instructions, it can actually get to about 20,000 easily. And this is with a variety called smooth cayenne, and that's the variety that is predominant in Uganda. And so I've seen this happening with pineapples. I currently grow soybean at a commercial scale in northern Uganda. And I can tell you, I have seen with my own eyes production more than doubling. But here is the problem that we need to deal with, even as we talk about agriculture. And some of the other people who have been involved in it at a commercial scale will tell you, we have a very big challenge, and that is lack of high quality seed. And so what is being sold to us by most of the seed suppliers is actually green. There's a very big difference between seed and green. High quality seed will get you high productivity. But when you plant green, which could be maize green or beans as grains or soybeans as grains, you will not get the same yield as me who is planting seed. And so for me, my focus now has changed into the production and multiplication of seeds. And right now I'm concentrating on the production of high quality potatoes. We have a variety in our country called Taurus and Maquis that are used mainly for making chips. For those of you who may not know and you go to KFC to buy potatoes, the potatoes that come to us in KFC, the potatoes there come from Egypt. You can imagine this water that we donate to our brothers there. They use it to make potatoes. Those potatoes come back to us in the name of KFC. But when you talk to the people of KFC and you ask them, what is the problem? Why are you not buying potatoes from our people in Kabale? They'll tell you, first of all, the people in Kabale, the variety they're growing is wrong. It's not the one they're interested in. Secondly, our farmers in Kabale do not have the ability to supply consistently across the year the volumes and the variety that the market wants. I would just like to encourage you to let you know that when you focus on growing what the market wants, and I like what Engineer Kenneth mentioned, how he tried to work with the I think it was in high value vegetables, or even with matoke, and then he encountered the mafia, the cartel that is in Nakasero. My friend, those people are not easy. But from experience, I've come to discover different markets, different buyers
that are interested in purchasing in large volumes that can help you avoid the cartel in Nakasero. And then if you work with the right person and get into contract farming and you do it the right way, you will get the money you're supposed to get. So I just wanted, personally, I am a farmer, a commercial farmer at that. I have done it. I have even worked with smallholder farmers. I've seen their lives change. And I want you to know that it is possible if you do it the right way. Thank you very much, Benediction.
Thank you, Apollo. So we have 3 Apollos who have stolen the show: Apollo Miyanja, Apollo Kashanku, and Apollo Brejia. So now we are going to listen to Apollo Kashanku. Must be a rancher.
Thank you, Dixon. I just wanted to paint a positive picture also, like my predecessor had said, because the engineer Kejuka, you know, he gave us a very resigning tone that we do it as a hobby. I don't believe that. I think with a little organization, we can profit from agriculture. We have some challenges which are very well known. For instance, things to do with market. As you know, the cartels, yes, but that's a local problem. I'm partly into dairy at not a big level, but I know that the middleman in the dairy sector determines our livelihood. He can decide to slash the price to whatever amount. There's a time a liter went for 200 when Kenya abruptly closed the border, and the middleman was taking our milk for free. Of course, he had the cooling system, so he could store it for a long time and still reap the amount he had been reaping. So I think those are some of the challenges that frustrate the farmer, especially our very, disorganized, disorganized system here. Cooperatives had helped a lot, and they are coming back. Like the experience I'm telling you of a liter going for 150, I think it was. We have a cooperative where I do this farming in Kaburari Antonde, actually founded by an old boy from Jersey, but he brought in a lot of us. So we have a cooperative, and he was able to shield our farmers from, whereas in Churuhur, actually they were powering the milk. In Kabura, we managed to collect the milk and, and store it for a few days. So at least there was no powering of milk. And, like somebody said, milk gone bad is a big problem. You don't know where to put it because it smells like hell. So I think that's one problem, which I think I would encourage, especially old boys here, to think about in our communities where we come from. We organize the people and try to put up facilities like maize silos. They would help a lot. I planted maize in the lockdown last year. I share your experience, Dixon. I planted maize. I was putting up a coffee shamba, about 10 acres, and I put in maize. And the yield was good. I was targeting some schools near me. And then there was COVID. So I had a lot of maize, which didn't have where to go. But I was just imagining if we had a silo there, would store this maize and it would not. So as you can see, some of the challenges that we are talking about are solvable. They are solvable. And I have been interesting myself in this parish model. I hope it can solve some of these issues. Apollo Brejia talked about the cost to establishing a farm. I really agree with him to an extent that the OB we're talking about, who is a big time rancher, the cost of a square mile of land. Now, if you have 9 square miles, you don't have to worry very much about many things smallholder, cattle keepers have, because you can, even if you keep our Nyankore cows, which are very resistant to disease, and you will simply reap from the numbers. You simply reap from the numbers. So of course that brings me to the other issue which we are all experiencing. People like Apollo Muyanja are able to, to overcome them because they have the knowledge. But as you know, our parents in the village, very limited education. They suffer from a very strange disease called Kashanku, which last hit 40 years ago. They didn't experience it, and all the animals died. So it is those challenges of, vet assistants who were there before, well-educated vet assistants dedicated to their work, that we are able to solve the challenges that, that are making us hate this farming business. But Dixon, to conclude and give a chance to other people, I think farming is simply the biggest business that is going to be in Africa for the next many years. I see my lecturer here, Ben Paul Mungereza, who works with the African Development Bank. They have published a report to say that it is just the next biggest business. So if you are thinking of earning big money, I think, yes, the other sectors are good, but farming is good in the very long haul. Thank you.
Thank you, Apollo. I see another Apollo. Oh, no, it's the same Apollo, doctor.
Dixon, I have just 2 questions, then I will keep quiet. Huh?
Okay, okay.
If you allow me. Thank you. Now, the first question is, currently the global GDP, I think is about $120 trillion. Of that, agriculture accounts for about 1.3 trillion. Now, the first question I have, this question is, should I be going to hunt with people who are hunting rabbits, or I go to hunt with people hunting antelopes? And the reason I'm asking this question is to direct us to know that as educated people, yes, we can do farming, we can go back and do what our parents did, but our government, our economy, our season needs us to be more productive, to have a higher yield on our investments, on our assets. So if I have a square mile of land, which costs 8 billion to have now, and out of a square mile of 8 billion, I should not be getting 20 million per month. I should be getting something else. Especially when you look at the cost of production for a kilogram of coffee, inputs, just inputs in labor, before you consider the cost of land where it's planted, you're talking of 800 shillings per kilogram. How much does coffee go for? That is fresh coffee, green coffee. So now, when you look at all these dynamics, then are we not pursuing something that is going to get us busy running after rabbits? It's very hard to catch a rabbit. It's very hard to have wealth, because at the end, we have a limited time. We want to engage in things that are going to give us wealth. The moment we have money, things are going to be right. But right now we are trading the rest because we are engaging our youth in things that are not going to be productive. I don't know, I'm just asking, opening up. So looking at the GDP share, global, that is going into agriculture, it's not just agriculture, it's actually agriculture and the food industry. If you look at your expenditure every month in your home, the money you spend on TV and the money you spend on food, remove Omo and soap, and the money you spend on food is actually a very small percentage of the money you spend in your home. Huh? So when we are competing for this cake, because at the end we need to be clear, we want to be rich, we want to be wealthy, we want to have money here so that we can improve our livelihood, not to be busy doing work. I rest my case.
Thank you, Doctor. So before Huntington comes in, I wanted to know, what are we not doing, or what are we doing left? What are we not doing right? Because currently we import tomatoes, rice, apples, maize, grapes, Irish potatoes, milk, ice cream, fish. I see fish from Pakistan, from India in supermarkets. We're importing literally everything from those countries. What are we not doing right that we should do? For example, why is Tanzania exporting onions and tomatoes to Uganda? Why is Tanzania? Why are we picking matoke from? We normally think it's from Mutukula, but it's actually from Tanzania, from the other side. So what are we not doing? I'm hoping someone is going to take us through that. Just a summary of it. Huntington, what were you saying?
Dixon, thank you. I have listened in, and I thought I had finished my submissions, but then I'm forced to come back. You know, I have been passionate, not for long. I'm not like the people here who are talking of 20 years and all that. My real concentration on agriculture has been exactly 3 years now. I started with matoke, so I am a big matoke farmer, I can say. In Isinjiro Ngarama, I own, in Isinjiro, I have about 9 acres of matoke. Around Mairina, that's slightly out of Mbara town, I have about 4 acres, and then at the main farm, I have about 3 acres. Yeah, so I can reliably say that I have matoke. And truthfully, matoke is a bit tricky. Right now, I cannot say that I have realized the money that I put in, because the one in Ngarama, I just bought it. The ones in the, near home, those ones I planted. But the one in Ngarama, I just bought, put in some money and bought a plantation that was already doing well. I have gone back a couple of times and found, after changing 1, 2, 3 of the laborers, that the plantation was losing it. So I had to consult with the locals, because Ngarama is known for growing bananas. On consulting, I realized that the person that had replaced the previous laborer clearly did not know what he was doing, and he was messing up the plantation. But within the last 3 months after changing him, I'm back on track. I sell matoke, and I cannot say that I'm getting exactly what I'm supposed to be getting, but it's not as bad. You saw in the group when people were saying they were selling matoke at 500 shillings, I was selling mine at 4,000, at 6,000. Yeah, so, but then that is not what I want to be, because when I do that, then I'll become like engineer Kajukan. I will lose interest. I might be termed as a passionate farmer, yet I want to make profit out of this matoke. So for me, what I'm looking at, and what I would advise the fellow matoke farmers in Imbarara, those who boast of 5 acres and above, even if it's 1 acre, 2 acres, I think we need to start meeting as young farmers who are passionate about these things, and we share ideas on how we can do value addition. If you want to sell matoke like how our fathers did 20, 50 years ago, where you want to get the matoke and bring it to Kapara, or sell it to a middleman on the road, we will definitely not get out exactly the yields that we want to get out. And that is why most people are getting discouraged and running out of this kind of farming and leaving it to the villagers. It is dangerous for us to leave farming to the small farmers, like my brother Apollo is advising, because they are doing it the wrong way. If we want to improve and get to the levels, now I'm answering the question you just raised, Dixon. If you have to get to the levels of growing Irish that Cafe Javas or any other big restaurant is going to buy, it has to be done by us. And I told you the advantage that we have. The advantage is that we have a main source of income, and we are looking at farming as an alternative. But this alternative, we don't want to do it just for just. And that's it. No. We have to move and become profitable. I have friends who are in chicken. Anybody who wants to do chicken, you can actually contact me. I will take you personally to these guys and introduce you to them. I always have conversations with them and they laugh at me. They visited me and made me hate what I had put on the ground. I built a structure for chicken. Musisi can tell you it's been there. And I can call it, it's suitable for accommodation of humans, but I was building for chicken. I put in a lot of money for nothing. I've visited these Waganda boys who have put in almost, a reasonable amount of money, but with a well-planned structure, and they are making a killing from chicken. These guys are, I'm talking of guys who have 200,000 bats and above, 400,000. A young man called Peter has about 15,000, another one has about 22,000. These are young men. They get the eggs and they sell them. You find someone telling you eggs have no market. But what they have done is value addition. What they have done is innovation. They have sat down and realized that buying feeds continuously from the market is costly for them. And they have now put up feed mills and they are producing their own feeds that the animals are consuming, the birds are consuming. And at the end of the day, it helps them to cut on the costs. It helps them to move towards realizing a profit. Lastly, we need to track the costs that we incur when we are doing this kind of investment. And that is something that I not started with, but I just started because almost all the profitable guys who have grown into this business and are making money out of farming have done this. They do record keeping. He will tell you that this animal will eat this amount of food from the time that I put it into the lot. And when it goes into production, this is the amount of money that I get out. When it gives me a calf, this is how much I can sell a heifer. And within 5 years, I will have put in this much and I will have recovered this much. Or within the last 5 years, I put in this much and I recovered this much. And when you realize that the margin is big, you start working towards improving and reducing on the cost that you're putting in, the cost of production. So we cannot just go into farming as passionate farmers. Or what did Mark call me? Bourgeoisie, what did he? Is a word he used to refer to me that I'm just there playing. And for me, that pushed me harder even to go into research. I'm moving into people's farms and understanding. If Murwana Murwana did A, B, C, D to get to where he is, how did he do it? Why can't I do it? If in fact, I'm a fish farm, I told you in Kiganiiro, and I'm thinking of doing a value addition by putting up a selling point in town or a couple of selling points, get an aquarium, put my fish there. Someone comes and buys it at 15,000 as opposed to selling it to a middleman, taking it to Congo at 3,000. But the question that I'm faced with now is that once I start that, once I establish the link to the market, can I sustain that demand? Because if my ponds run out after 6 months and I have to wait for fish that I'll harvest in the next 6 months, then I will lose the market. And that's the sustainability that people are talking about. But you'll find that there's another fish farmer or a couple of them in Kiganiiro who are having the same challenges of selling their fish to the middleman cheaply. Now, if we could combine forces as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people within one area who are into a similar business, there's so much that we can do in terms of innovation. There's so much we can do in terms of sustaining our supply to the market that we could create out there. We travel. We can buy machines as a group of people and invest into all this. So I think that, and maybe farming is not for everybody. Not everyone on this group is going to go and do farming successfully. Just like business. Some other people will tell you they are better off being employed and sitting in their office and waiting for money to come in. So farming is the same thing. Some people are passionate. They want to go in and do it as a business and make a profit. Others are just there to pass time and show and all that. But we need to look at profitability. And for us to do that, we need to do it as a group. So I suggest that maybe the next thing Dixon and Apollo Kashanku and NSOBA, the next thing that we should do is to mobilize the farmers and bring us together so that we can passionately look at this and look at opportunities and see how we can actually better whatever we are doing and support each other into that. If it means adding value to milk, we add value to milk. And we start doing milk powder. I heard that Zambia is buying it expensively, and it's Coca-Cola that is actually giving the deal to the Ugandans. We have an OB who is heading in National NTARE Development Authority. Can't we sit down with them and see? Now my cow started producing, I'm going into milk production. Where will I sell my milk? Should I sell it at 500 shillings in the village, or should we look at partnering with Apollo Kashanku and a few other people, and we get a cooler, or we start, processing this milk and getting powder. I think we need to start being innovative, extremely innovative. Yeah, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Hans. Dr. Stephen Kasasa, you're not telling us about farming? You don't have farms in a...
I find my food on a plate in a hotel.
regardless of how it reached.
I don't want to take the hands out of business.
Great. Bruce, I think we're coming to the end of the show. Bruce, can you take over for the next few minutes?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And I strongly feel also what Hans has said. If we can team up together and do certain things to advance ourselves in agriculture at whatever level we are at, and whatever we are doing, so that we better ourselves, even from the beginning of where we are as old boys. I don't know if it is possible for the people to meet, whether physically, whether it is whatever it is, that we pave some of these ways forward. Because of course we have all learned a few things here. We have learned a lot, many things here and there, but also taking some of these things into action, into whichever ventures we are involved in, would also help if we did it as a group, as old boys, as well-wishers. So thank you so much, each and every one of you who has contributed to this Kiganiiro. And I'm very glad it was very interactive, because we got to hear very many experiences of different people and different have embarked on. The people who have seen bloody ends, we have also learned from them. So it has really, really been productive. I don't know if there is any other thing to do. I think we are going to, Dixon will confirm if the next one, whether we'll engage fully into this agriculture, or we'll fix a new time because there might be someone else on the next, but we'll definitely see how to follow through with this conversation. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone else. Yes?
Yeah, I was saying, according to the schedule we have, because we have a definite schedule that we run with. Next, which is 16th, 16th October, we have a session with the association, the School Boys Association, and we are going to listen in to our chairman and his executive to update us on the projects and the progresses and of the association. You know, COVID hit us badly, but we need to get back to work. That is 16th October. Then 30th October, we had already scheduled a session on financial literacy. Senior OB Daniel Babu we had already booked that day. And then 6th November, Apollo Mianja, were with him today. He was taking us through the opportunities available for our youth, including agriculture, as he discussed today. So 16th, NSOBA projects, we have chairman. 30th, financial literacy. And 6th November, we have youth opportunities and challenges and how we can benefit from the available opportunities. That is Apollo Mianja. But I'm thinking, of course, we're not able to get a doctor today. I don't know what happened. Definitely whatever happened must have been serious, that even both his phones go off. And then even his brother Apollo cannot locate where he is. At least we're sure that he was driving to Mbarara. I talked to him yesterday and today earlier in the day. When he gets back, we're going to agree on when we can reschedule his session. And we're also going to get in touch with the other big guys in the markets. We'll get the practical people. Me, I'm not practical in farming. I only use my phone to do it. So we'll get the serious guys, Dr. Kamkama, I was told he's one of the biggest ranchers. We'll try to assemble them, maybe 2 guys, and they take over a session, they handle a session so that we can all benefit. Otherwise, if we don't have any other, I just want to check on the chat side. Okay, I can see. Yeah, I think we may have to close the session. Abraham, are you still there? Today Ben Paul left a bit early, though he joined here. He was with us at the beginning. He normally closes our sessions. So in the absence of Ben Paul, I'm going to ask William Wilberforce to help close our session. Imran, I know this is not your field of agriculture, probably that's why you decided to keep quiet. Senior Kambona William Wilberforce, kindly help us close the session. And we go for Manchester football if it is there.
Imran tiatu gambra yorusungu wow.
Imran, did you get that? Today you are very
You people from Kashari.
Okay, William, you can close our session, please.
Thank you very much, Dixon. Thank you very
Sorry,
much.
brother, before the closure, I want to apologize that I was in the middle of something, so I was between the meeting and something else. But I appreciate your acknowledgement. I got a lot of knowledge from this. Thank you. I'm always happy to join the group.
That's what we wanted.
But General Sasira.
Yes, William.
Thank you very much. I usually want to do it, but when you're called upon, it's a blessing and it's a calling and you can just turn it down. So the fact that we are unable to get Dixon Kamganga today maybe brought a different perspective for today's discussion. And surely I want to say and I want to believe that most of us have learned. You have given a very good example of telephone farmers. Some of us are in that category and sometimes we don't know what is happening, but it was a good lesson for all of us. Thank you very much. Now, as we close today's session, I want to call upon actually to thank the Almighty for giving us this opportunity to come together to chat, discuss, and Kiganiiro, as you call it. We are blessed that we had the opportunity to go to NTARE school and build capabilities and lessons and the competencies within us that we're able to share for the benefit of ourselves and for the benefit of mankind. We thank God for that opportunity, and as you go forward into the world to serve, we say it's for the good of our country, for the good of ourselves, and for the good of everybody. And we pray all this, believing and trusting in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you. Yeah, Apollo Mianja, you were asking, do we have enough land? Do we? Yeah, before I left in 96, we had started a poultry farm as a school, and we enjoyed those eggs in our senior for second and third term. We had a farm, down there for piggery and cows. Currently, the project which is being run is a Matoke project. That will be about, so I think it's about 10 acres, Matoke project. It looks good, like we saw it the other time when we had a presentation from the headmaster. So yes, there's a project which is being run for Matoke. I know Agre is very much interested when he keeps saying we have 10 acres free land. He wants to put Majani for what? Agre, Agri, want to bring majani in that compound?
That land is too small for majani, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to join majani now.
So why were you bringing majani to Rwambara, the one who rejected?
You were copying Bushdenya, and for us, we already benefited, and we no longer want to benefit.
No, you wanted us to die a natural death like you're dying with your tea.
So, but you also have be bloody as it happened to you, Dick.
We rejected it squarely. We don't want tea leaves in Rwambara. Let's suffer with our matoke. At least we can eat it. You eat the yellow bananas, you put it in a saucepan and cook it, you cut it and give it to the cows as Agri suffers with these tea leaves. Can cows eat tea leaves?
No, it can't be.
You can also drink your matoke.
Yeah, you make beer out of it.
Anyway.
You make beer out of it. Nowadays we even make wine out of it. Value addition.
The mukama na yamba that you enjoy is made out of tea, kazire out of tea, and the tea goes to each and every homestead in the whole world.
That one is made out of chemicals.
But
that one is made out of chemicals. Mukama na yamba is made out of chemicals and kazire.
So you better take tea. Tea is drunk by everyone in the whole world.
What I like about your tea is that you export it to Kenya. Kenya tea Ketepa repackages it, and then they bring it here and sell a kilo at 50,000. And when we go to supermarkets, we all buy Ketepa. We don't want to buy Kayonza like it was the one which was packed in soap boxes, Mukwano soap boxes in Dubai. So if you can also package your tea properly, maybe we could buy it. For now, we are still buying Ketepa because they know how to package it.
Ketepa has its own factories in Kenya, but still buys our Ugandan tea and sells it in Kenya. So we don't make any loss.
So they buy your tea cheaply, they package it, they repackage it in Kenya, bring it back here, and we buy it. And then for you, you package yours in Mukano soap boxes and take it to Dubai for the expo.
Why didn't you take matoke, you Rwambara people?
I think.
I saw your fish there.
Kiganiiro cyaho wamaze kunywa Rwambara.
Ciao always.
Agri is saying Kayonza is the best in Uganda. Package it properly. Package it. The way it is for now, wapi. Premium. Okay, guys. Bruce, you remember to of course, as usual, to edit the video and remove these last parts. Then we will repost the productive parts.
Why edit? We want everything live.